Hi guys, and welcome back to the desktop for another retro RPG. And this week I would like to present this. I've spent so many weeks recently going through Dungeons & Dragons stuff and D20 based stuff that it's good to get back to something different, and back to one of my favourite Rift source books. In a past video I went through the Rift's Juicer Uprising campaign, which was a source book which detailed various types of juicers, the different effects the drugs had on their systems, but it also detailed a campaign which laid out how the Coalition, the big Nazi-type American government in Rifts, was exploiting juicers and led to a situation. And the Coalition War campaign basically follows on from that. I believe it's actually the book directly after it. I probably should have checked before I started recording. And it sets out to standardize the Coalition, because they've been created with a particular motif, the skull head, black armor motif throughout, but had added different things in throughout. And the Coalition was starting to look a bit like a hodgepodge of different styles, as artists created things and the writers decided that was for the Coalition, it was a new tank or whatever, but it didn't stick to the style of the Coalition at all. So this really revamped everything. It threw out all the past stuff which didn't fit in and redesigned everything. Unfortunately, pretty much in the very next book after this, which I believe was the Underseas, they started introducing new things, and again it was just back to being a hodgepodge. But it was a lovely idea. It unified the design of the Coalition. But let's start off on the back cover. So we start off, and as with all Palladium books, they advertise the next book straight away. Always trying to sell you. Palladium, go for it. Anyway, Palladium Books presents Coalition War Campaign, The Secrets of the Coalition States Revealed. Emperor Prozek's Campaign for Unity, the new Coalition Army and its Campaign of Conquest. New military OCCs, including Special Forces, the Commando, Ranger, Flyboy Ace, CS Cyborg, and others. New power armor, including Super Samus, Light Assault Samus, Striker Samus, Terror Trooper, and Glitterboy Killer. Giant robots like the Hellraiser, Skull Smasher, Scout Spider, Skull Walker, and Scorpion Skull Walker. Armored assault vehicles like the Slayer APC, Skysweeper Anti-Aircraft Tank, and Firestorm Mobile Fortress. Combat aircraft like the Deathbringer APC, Skylifter APC, Command Car, Warbird Rocket Cycle, and Talon Stealth Fighter Jet. All cool names. Nobody's supposed to know what they are. They're only being introduced in this book, but it sounds cool. CS military activity, troop movements, build-ups, invasion plans, who will be the first to fall. CS military ranks, key leaders, surprising alliances, enemies, world information, adventure ideas, and more. Written by Kevin Sambeda, over 220 pages. And if we go inside, we're going to see that it's fairly standard for a Palladium book. The artwork is very, very nice. Most of it's new for this book. Let's get into it. It's laid out as most of the Rift's books are, and presented extremely nicely. It's obviously not as plush as some of the other role-playing games that are out at the time, but it's a nice looking book. It's very readable. There's no fancy backgrounds to distract the eye. So we've got Emperor Prozek there. Rebellious Quebec. And we're straight into the Terror Troopers, the standard Coalition Troopers, Dead Boys as they're called, where their armour resembles the human skeleton somewhat. Declared enemies of the Coalition states, Erin Tarn, who often is seen as the scribe behind many of these source books. So Winslow Thorpe, Erin Tarn's Cybernite Protector. Naruni Enterprises, so an alien species. Free Quebec Traitors, the Federation of Magic. And we're getting through the enemies here. The Tolkien. Coalition and allies. So Ishpeming, Northern Gun. Lone Star State. Cheetown, the Domain of Man. Let's flip through all this. It's not that interesting to somebody who's not familiar with Rifts, but we're going to get into the Coalition Army, and we're going to see lots of lovely pictures. The Coalition, good or evil? Well, they're pure humans, and they're looking out for humans, but they are a bit Nazi. Showing off the uniforms. Alphabetical list of skills, old and new by category. Coalition militaries. So we've got the Coalition Cyborg Strike Trooper, who is a cyborg, basically. A bit of a Terminator. CS Commando, who wears that iconic Dead Boy armor. It's got large shoulder pauldrons, so it looks a bit 40k, but otherwise, this is a classic design. I really like the Coalition designs. Coalition Juicers, where they get their own version of the Dead Boy armor with vibroblades and machine guns built into the gauntlet. Nautical Specialists, Rangers. So he's wearing sort of Dead Boy, but they put camouflage on instead of the bright white, so he merges into the background. Flyby Aces, Special Forces, wearing totally black Dead Boy armor. The standard Dead Boy design. They've changed the helmet slightly, but it looks very, very cool. A bunch of guns, always looking good in Rifts. UCS body armor, the different designs. So we've got the standard, the heavy, and the light scout armor. Special Forces armor, as I said, all in black with spikes on it. Mauler powered armor, so a much larger set of Dead Boy armor with the skull motif and the bones on it, but some large cannons mounted on the shoulders. The Terror Trooper, again keeping with the rough skull designs, going with spikes on it. It's also got the large piston things which Rift's powered armor usually has. And then we're on to something absolutely lovely, the Glitter Boy Killer power armor, with lots of blades, missiles, guns, spikes, designed to take out fast-moving targets. I think that looks great. The legs are built up like sort of dog legs, so they can run faster. Very cool. We've got the standard Death's Head Samas armor, and then it shows the new ones. So we've got Smiling Jack Light Samas, the new Super Samas armor. What was that one? I skipped past. We've got Striker Samus. And then we're on to the Skelelots. So these are basically look like Terminators, the human skeleton, but a robot. And the Skelelots have always looked cool, but they introduce in this one the new style ones, which have the white highlights on them. Got Skelebot Hunters, which are a bit heavier, sort of got a chainsaw blade built into them, more armor. The Hellion Skelebot, which looks like somebody has cast a magic spell and gathered up bones from all different animals and animated them. The long alien-style whip-like tail, 4 arms, a set of antlers. It's very, very cool. I do like the fact that they mention in the descriptive text, because it doesn't look human, the coalition government doesn't actually like this because it looks demonic. They don't like that idea. They like the pure Aryan human skull shape, as a Mitchell and Webb joke goes. We've got the Centaur. Again, not that popular with the coalition government, but we've got missiles and guns built onto it. A very nice design. The Coalition Abolisher Robot, which I'll admit I think looks a bit silly. The idea that its waist is the mouth. You've got guns pointing out in every direction. I get what they were trying to do, but it looks a bit silly to me. Skull Smasher, so a large heavy one. The guns inside the mouth are quite interesting. The Hellraiser, which is the robot shown on the cover of the book. So flamethrowers, missiles, vibroblades. Now this one's not really sticking to the Coalition design, but it's a nice, it looks perhaps more like something out of Battletech to me, but that's a nice design. I'm trying to remember the exact design. We've got the Spider Skull Walkers. The standard ones were tanks with spider legs, but they've brought out these new ones which look more like aggressive arachnids. I really like that design. And we've got a Scorpion one. I think that looks a bit silly, it's too low. I'm not sure about the big barbs out here, but I like the idea. Treble miniguns in the tail, big clamp, claws there. Combat vehicles, so the Coalition keep the skull motif on the front of their vehicles. It's a big APC, you've got some side guns here and main turret, but it looks kind of cool. Again, we're looking like something out another game. That looks like the Rhinos to me out of 40k, but it's a nice little APC. A tank, double barrels on it, the skull face on the front. Not quite sure how flattened down they can take the skull face. The Mobile Fortress Super Tank. It's getting a bit bizarre, but still looks very nice. Not sure about it having 3 faces on the front. Does that not vary away from the design that the Coalition wants? Deathbringer APC, again sticking with the Coalition skull motif. Got a Skylifter, very much the same. The Command Car and the Scarab Officer's Car. These are looking very much like the Nazi buggies out of any old World War II film. Skull Patrol Car, where that just looks like a standard vehicle with a skull painted on it. I think it's getting a bit away from the design. The Sky Cycles and Rocket Sky Cycles. Windjammer, again that's getting away from the Coalition design, but it's still really cool. I think the skull on the front of the helicopter looks a bit silly, but again, they went with the design and they kept it. That's a better way of using the face with the cockpit above. And these look like sort of stealth planes, again with the skull face on the front. And then we're getting into individuals here, so internal security organization, peacekeeper agents, inspectors. And then we're on to the sort of Psyhounds and dog boys they get. So they genetically engineer dogs into human form and use them in packs as servants. It seems strange that an organization which is so anti-mutant would rather purposely mutate animals into a humanoid form. The Burbs, which are the suburbs of Cheetown. We've got some detailing here. Different aliens, which really seem to be off focus for the source book. These really feel like they were just some OCCs they had lay around and they just put them in to bulk up the page count. Now, a samurai android robot, I really don't see what that's got to do with the Coalition. They're just listed as aliens which are living on the fringes of Coalition society. And then we detail the various characters which lead the Coalition. And at the very end, we've got a few pages of adventures and adventure ideas. And that's it. That's the Coalition War Campaign, which has some absolutely lovely art in it. I really do love this book. It sets things up so nicely and makes the Coalition so much more of a unified villain to use in Rifts, or if you really like human-centric campaigns, I suppose they could be the heroes trying to fight all these aliens off which have devastated human society. But that is all I've got to say in this video. As always, thank you very, very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing, but most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye.